So this is a little weird. I wasn't expecting this. Except maybe I was expecting this. Trump doing a 180 completely on the Epstein files. I think he also talked about this in the recent press conference where, he was doing like his standard fucking spiel where he's just like, yeah, I want the Epstein files to be released now. I'm gonna sign the bill. Uh, okay, I'm gonna be quite honest here. I think this is just Trump essentially uh, looking at the writing on the wall and saying like, yeah, I think I'm fucked. I probably am going to release the fucking Epstein files, guys. I think I probably will, because like I talked about this in the previous video where he was like getting into spats with people, and that more than likely that shit was going to pass in the House. Spats with Marjorie Taylor Greene specifically. The reasoning for as to why he's probably going to release the fucking goddamn Epstein files, or he might actually sign the fucking Epstein files, for their release, I think is because he more than likely just sees the writing on the wall. That's what it is. Like, he sees the writing on the wall. He's getting more and more fucking unpopular in terms of the fucking Epstein files. And so he probably just wants to. He can't. And also, he can't vice signal like he normally does with most issues like this. He can't do that. So he can't just like deflect and just be not really give much of a shit about a scandal like this, because again, like think of it this way for 3 seconds. If you're a fucking U.S. senator or a House member and you decide to vote against the release of the Epstein files, think about what you're defending there for like 3 seconds. It's it's a thing that probably exposes all the fucking pedos that are written in the fucking goddamn Epstein files that traveled around and palled around with like the biggest arch pedo of the current fucking century. So it's just like, yeah, I think it might be a good idea for us to like release these files. It's also possible that he's might be anticipating that this dies in the Senate. That's also a possibility. Like, I don't know who might cross. So who the fuck would vote against this shit? A bunch of Republicans? I have no idea. I don't know if any of the Democrats would sign against the release of the Epstein files. Maybe Fetterman. Yeah, maybe Fetterman. But what do we have here from the big man? As I said on Friday night aboard Air Force One, to the fake news media, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide. Okay, this rather rings kind of hollow from the fact that he's been doing everything through Mike Johnson to ensure that the Epstein files do not get released. And at any point in time that he should speak about the fucking Epstein files, he refuses to fucking speak about it whenever he's asked questions about it. And the crash out he had with Marjorie Taylor Greene about the Epstein files. So, you have nothing to hide. Unless at this point, like, any mention of Trump from the Epstein files has been scrubbed and they don't release an actual correct version of the Epstein files. Like, they just decide to lie and just redact like Trump's name out of it for some fucking reason. It's just like, okay, bro, like, nice fucking meme, because we all know there's like a bunch of Democrats in there. What, Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, and some other fucking dipshits. But there's also like a bunch of fucking Republicans in there as well. Again, like, Epstein was a power broker. He's a fucking schmooze. Like, he schmoozed with a bunch of like older, like more powerful people. Like, duh. Even if they redact, everyone knows it's him. I don't know, like, what the fuck could they possibly do in order to hide the fact that Trump is definitely in the Epstein files, which we've known for ever since May, basically. That his dumbass name is in there with that Wall Street Journal fucking reporting, saying that he's in the Epstein files, and Pam Bondi hid it. It's very strange. I have no idea. It's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetrated by radical left lunatics in order to reflect from the great successes of the Republican Party, including our recent victory on the Democrat shutdown that the Democrats capitulated for no reason, but whatever. The Department of Justice has already turned over tens of thousands of pages to the public on Epstein, are looking at various Democrat operatives, Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, etc. Yeah, he wanted to just make this a pure political ploy, which is why he wanted to release the Epstein files to begin with. Unfortunately, he recognized that, like, ooh, that might hit a little too close to home, so I might not want to release the Epstein files. I don't know about that. Maybe he's just, like, having his final crash out for it. I don't know. and their relationship to Epstein. Again, he's like trying to talk about like Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, and Bill Clinton as if these people are popular amongst the Democratic constituency. They don't. Nobody fucking likes these guys. Like, why are you bringing them up? Like, it's like, okay, good, expose them as well. Great, fantastic. Nobody likes those guys, so it's like, okay, whatever. Can in the House Oversight Committee can have whatever they are legally entitled to. I don't care. All I do care about is that the Republicans get back on point with just the economy, affordability, where we are winning big. Yeah, sure, dude. Okay. Our victory on reducing inflation from the highest level in history to practically nothing. It's going back up. Bringing down prices for the American people. They've only gone up. Delivering historic tax cuts for the rich. Gaining trillions of dollars of investment in America. A record. Just subjective lie. The rebuilding of our military. Securing our border. Deporting criminal illegal aliens. Mostly been legal migrants that they've been deporting. Ending men and women's deports. Stopping transgender for everyone. I guess everyone's transstride. That's crazy. And so much more. Nobody cared about Jeffrey Epstein when he was alive. That's just not true. That is not true. Your base really cared about Jeffrey Epstein when he was alive. The only reason why Democrats are bringing it up now is because you brought it up. That was you. You did that. Alright, man. Very cool. If the Democrats had anything, they would have released it before our landslide election victory. No, they didn't release anything about the Epstein files because it was just not like... They didn't really have to care about the Epstein files because there wasn't really a demand from the Democratic base to release the fucking Epstein files. Again, bro, the reason why you said you wanted to release the Epstein files is because your core constituency wanted a release of the fucking Epstein files. Like, duh. But okay, bro. Some members of the Republican Party are being used, and we can't let that happen. Let's start talking about the Republican Party's record-setting achievements, not fall into the Epstein trap, which is actually a curse on the Democrats, not us. Copium. Make America great again. Yeah, sure. Okay, bro. I listen, we know what the real reason is why he's talking about the release of the Epstein files. All right, Harry Emden, what do you got for me?
The pressure is mounting on President Trump and the Justice Department to release all of the files related to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. After a House committee made public 20,000 more pages of documents, the House is now set to vote on the matter next week. And among those demanding full transparency, Epstein's survivors. Here is one of those survivors who talked to Aaron Burnett.
Sure.
We need the government to release everything that's in these files, of course with the appropriate redactions to protect the privacy of the survivors, but we really need this information to be out there so these crimes can be investigated. I think it's really upsetting to us that this is so politicized when it's not a political issue. This was a crime, and it's a crime of sex trafficking, and we really just want to see justice for the crime that happened to us.
I'm sorry to say there, Liz. Unfortunately, the current president of the United States of America, his dumbass is definitely in the fucking Epstein files, so yeah, that's why he's not saying anything.
Survivor Liz Stein there just asking for justice. Harry Emden is here with us. Now, look, when you talk to you hear from the victim, it's very clear what they want. They've made that clear again and again. What does the American public think about how Donald Trump has been handling the Epstein files compared to all the other issues that he brought up during the campaign?
Yeah, Donald Trump is underwater on basically every single issue he ran on in 2024. But the Epstein files, the Epstein case are especially dreadful for him. What are we talking about here? Let's take a look at Trump's approval rating on the issue. Look, they're all in red. They're all in the negative territory. But on immigration, he's 5 points underwater. Foreign policy.
This is why he wants to release the fucking Epstein files. Why he wants the discharge petition, all the stuff to go through. Yeah, that's really bad because minus 39 points. Obviously, these can be explained away by Democrats and independents, but this is also going to include people in his base, right? This is what this is including in. So that's why he's talking about releasing the fucking Epstein files now. Not to mention also Marjorie Taylor Greene and that whole fucking spat that she had with Donald Trump. She looks good in that fucking spat. She doesn't look bad there. Like, she's looking very, very good, positioning herself to basically move away from Trumpism, from the MAGA movement. Because again, like I said before, these politicians have careers to have, or to consider rather, and want to win their next elections. Do you know how easy it would be for a challenger in a general election to talk about this motherfucker voted no against the release of the fucking Epstein files? They're protecting fucking pedophiles. Like, and that's the ads just write itself. That's the easiest fucking thing on the planet, and that's what it is. Oh, 1000%. Boy Meets Minnie. Yes, it is. She wants to become the face of the brand. She has higher political ambition because of how she's been snubbed. Like that's why she's doing it. But it's also a recognition from Marjorie Taylor Greene that Trump is dying. His brand is probably dying, and she wants to move on to be America first rather than make America great again and try to like morph it in a particular way. That's really what it is.
Policy 8 points, trade and tariffs, he's 17 points, the economy 18 points. But look at the Epstein case. He is 39 points below water on the Epstein case. His net approval is 39 points in the negative. My goodness gracious. What Donald Trump has been selling on the Epstein files, the Epstein case,
That's
the
true,
American
Randy.
people, simply put, have not been buying at all, Sarah Seidner.
All right, so is there any sign that things have gotten better since there have been some things that have been released?
Yeah, okay.
Although released by
There
Democrats.
have been some things that have been released. Donald Trump has been trying to make some sort of case saying that, folks don't necessarily care about it. But take a look here. Approval of the Trump admin on the Epstein case in early July, right when you had those DOJ droppings, right? It was 17%. Look at where we were by late September. The latest poll I could find it, 20%. We often talk.
Dude, yeah, we all know about the LARP cope shit. That first phase of the Epstein files dropped. Nobody fucking liked that shit because it was just like a show. It was for show where they brought in all these like content creators like Chaya Raichik and DC Drano, all these like stupid morons. They went through the fucking Epstein files and it was just redacted. It was all just pages upon pages of just black lines, just fully redacted, and there was like nothing on it. It was just a fucking photo op for these people. They weren't treating it seriously, which made a lot of people really, really fucking curious. Like, why are they trying to do everything possible to not release anything on the Epstein files? That's a little weird. Like, you promised that you would release the Epstein files. You said you wanted to release them. Well, what's going on now, Trump? That's a little weird.
Talk about Donald Trump having this floor, right, about 40%.
Yeah, maybe
on this
that's
particular
true,
issue, he is
Randy.
less than half the level of the supposed floor. There's just nobody. There is just nobody in the electorate who is
Like,
buying
it's
this.
gotten
They do
worse.
not like the way that the Trump administration has been handling this case one iota.
Republicans have generally said they like what Donald Trump is doing, generally speaking. How do they feel about the Epstein case?
Okay, so you see, approve of Trump on the Epstein case. This is overall, right? You see 17%, you say 20%. That is way below the 40% floor that Donald Trump supposedly has. How does that possibly happen? It's because of Republicans. Because look at this number. Okay, Republicans who approve of Trump's job as president, 87%. That is basically in line with the long-term average, 85, 90, 95%. But look at the Trump
Because they're stupid and they don't understand how policy works.
admin's job on the Epstein case. Just 45% of Republicans, less than half of Republicans are even buying what the administration is telling. Look, we're not necessarily sure whether or not this case has moved the ball on Trump's overall approval rating yet, but I can tell you that the more that this case is in the news, the worse it is for Donald Trump, because simply put, it is his worst issue by far.
We could be seeing a vote on this next week. This case is not going away anytime soon.
It is not going.
It's going to be happening at time of recording today because it's currently Tuesday. So we're going to be getting a vote on more than likely a release of those fucking Epstein files. And Thomas Massie himself has said that he thinks that maybe 100 Republicans might fucking defect to vote for the release of the Epstein files. I think Trump has essentially acknowledged at this point this is a complete political loser for him, so that's why he's saying he wants to try to make it look, have like a recoverable position, saying like, yeah, we're all about transparency here, folks. It's an obvious lie, but it doesn't matter. His like sycophantic base is not going to believe, like they're going to believe that inherently anyways, because they're in an information silo, they're in an echo chamber, right? Like, so they're just going to inherently believe that whatever Donald Trump like shits out of his fucking asshole or whatever, like it doesn't matter. He'll say anything. He'll say he'll shoot a dude on like Fifth Avenue and he'll still probably win and still have popularity and support. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's irrelevant. Like, who the fuck cares? But the only reason why he's saying this now is because he knows more than likely that shit's going to pass. And I've said this before, if it passed through the House with a veto-proof majority, which I do think that's probably going to happen, over 2/3 of the House of Representatives is probably going to vote for yes on the release of the Epstein files. Because, again, like, the motherfuckers who vote no for the release, unless they are in the deepest of deepest red fucking districts, even then, like, that could potentially put them up for play for whatever fucking reason, because you could just, like, run on Epstein the whole time on the opponent voting yes or no to stop the release of the Epstein files. So, again, the political ads would just be able to write themselves, be really, really fucking easy. So you can just, like, hand wring about Epstein the whole fucking goddamn time very, very easily. So there's that potential angle, but 2/3 in the Senate, I'm a little bit more skeptical on that one. That one I don't really know about, because you would need at least about 20 Republicans to vote alongside with the Democrats for the release of the Epstein files. There's definitely going to be some Republicans that cross over to vote in favor of the release of the Epstein files, because there's a lot of Senate Republicans that do not like Donald Trump, and the party will probably openly fucking defy him on this. And basically just make him look really, really, really fucking bad, especially with all the shutdown shenanigans. They were not a big fan of all the shutdown shenanigans that Trump was fucking consistently pulling, but unfortunately the fucking Democrats decided to throw a life preserver to the Republican Party in order to save the filibuster. But that's a whole other fucking different story. Yeah, it's because like the base, man. The base is saying like, wow, this is some fucking dog shit. And it's like, yep, this is some fucking dog shit, dude.
Going away anytime soon, and that is bad news politically for Donald John Trump.
All right, thank you so much, Harry Enton. And now joining us is John Berman, hopefully.
Thank you.
There he is, he's over there.
I am so pleased to be with you today, Sarah Simon. Thank you very much. With us now also is senior politics reporter for Axios, Mark Caputo. Mark, I've been reading for years, but overnight, your story on what's been happening in the White House really over the last 24 hours plus. Not every story is a process story, but boy, the process here is fascinating because of how the White House is handling this. Why are they doing what they're doing?
We can only speculate. And the speculation that circulates in Trump's orbit, whether it's some people around the White House, longtime advisors, confidants, is that Trump's name in some way, form, or fashion is in the Epstein files. And that really bothers him because he knows that if you have Trump and Epstein in a file, it's going to be a headline and it's going to dominate news coverage, social media discussion, be all over television. Just consider what's happened here. There wasn't a smoking gun in this trench of emails that was released, yet it just totally dominated everything. So imagine if there was an investigative file, a criminal investigation.
No, it made him look pretty fucking bad. Like, Donald Trump knew about the fucking girls hanging out with like Jeffrey Epstein and all that shit, and that he hung out with some fucking girls himself that were solicited by Jeffrey fucking Epstein. It's pretty like there was a lot of fucking smoke. Like people are just like, this is so fucking weird, and considering the fact that all the fucking Trump supporters and Trump himself was coping about those email fucking releases, made him look even more fucking suspicious. Like, dude, you're definitely fucking in those fucking files, and you might have done some fucking sussy shit with Jeffrey Epstein. Like, come on, little bro.
File or files where Trump's name is mentioned in some form or fashion. Again, I don't know what that form or fashion is. It would be what we're seeing now, just on steroids.
And what exactly have they been doing? There's the stuff that CNN is reporting. We know about a situation room meeting with Lauren Boebert, but what else is happening behind the scenes?
Well, from what we understand, they've been
apparently it wasn't only Lauren Boebert. I think they also talked with Nancy Mace to try to make her drop the fucking discharge petition, which I'm surprised that she decided not to drop it, because considering the fact that Nancy Mace is just a total fucking grifter. She doesn't fucking believe in anything. So her remaining consistent on the Epstein files is genuinely quite surprising to me.
Including the president had played phone tag at one point with Nancy Mace, the South Carolina representative, and he doesn't want this, I'm sorry to use the phrase discharge petition, most people don't know what it is, but he doesn't want this measure backed by Republicans to go to the floor, but increasingly it looks like that's going to fail and there is going to be a full vote on it. Ultimately, Trump had decided in July that despite his campaign trail promise, despite the comments of his advisors, now J.D. Vance, now Vice President J.D. Vance, Pam Bondi, now the Attorney General Kash Patel, now the FBI Director, on the campaign trail they're saying, oh, the Epstein files are going to be released. July rolls around in 2025, Trump says nope, and once that decision was made, it just sort of created this snowball effect, and Trump is living with it, or I guess maybe a better phrase is karma. This is political karma, the law of action and reaction. You promise you're going to do something, then you reverse yourself, and then it already becomes this massive political issue that just becomes very difficult to escape.
And what's the mood inside the White House over this, and how do, you've done reporting on this, how do insiders feel about what would happen if they approached the president on different ways of managing this?
Well, the people I've spoken to who talk to the president say, look, we don't talk about this with him because he's just going to get angry and lose his temper. And as a result, that's how you're seeing, or that's why you're seeing him act in this way. The White House is bothered by this release of emails from the Democrats because it was released in a strategic way, a political way, to coincide with the ending of the shutdown. Also, the sort of most eyebrow-raising email, the one from Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell, that the Democrats released, they purposely redacted the name of the victim, and from what we understand, that victim, Virginia Giuffre, was a person who was not a victim of Donald Trump. In addition to that, had testified, had written, had spoken, had publicly said that Donald Trump didn't sexually assault her. She didn't know if Donald Trump sexually assaulting anyone, and that she had good relations with Donald Trump, friendly and legal, warm relations with him. And the fact that the Democrats had redacted that really, really bothers the White House, because the Democrats essentially sort of got one over on them, and they spent an entire day on
because it makes them, people be like, oh, well, who is that exactly? Oh, that's a little weird. That looks rather suspicious. And then the White House administration getting fucking mad about that, just pulling the shirt over their fucking eyes kind of a deal. Yeah,
And so this is why it likes to drive the narrative, not have the narrative driven against them. But obviously they were in a situation where they were just on that defensive, crouching on the back foot.
It is interesting with the discharge petition, which does seem like it will go, and I use the words too, but this vote on the House floor, where the full House will vote on calling for the full release from the Justice Department of the so-called Epstein files, but that doesn't mean they'll be released, because then the Senate has to vote on it, and the president would have to sign it into law there. So the president can stop this. The question is, why is he fighting so hard? Is it clear to you why he's fighting so hard, therefore, and why he's using so much capital, and had Speaker Mike Johnson use so much capital to keep this vote from happening?
Well, that's how Donald Trump is. If he doesn't want something, he fights tooth and nail to make it not happen. And if he wants something, he does that as well to make it happen. Here he doesn't want it to happen, and he's just going to fight tooth and nail. And it doesn't matter how many sort of rakes he's going to step on in the process in doing it. He fights. Sometimes the way he fights hurts him. You saw, for instance, and I referenced in the piece in Axios today, in 2017, in the Russia investigation, if Donald Trump had sort of let FBI Director James Comey go and just, do some typical law enforcement work, it probably would have just blown over. But instead, Donald Trump fired James Comey, and that triggered the Russia investigation. Then there was COVID, and the way he handled COVID, he got a lot of criticism for it. And so he called that a hoax, and people don't understand, well, what's he actually calling a hoax? The other day on Sunday, Donald Trump was asked about the affordability crisis on Fox News in a friendly interview, and he called the affordability crisis a con job. So So Donald Trump sort of reacts very negatively to criticism.
Well, because he doesn't fucking believe in anything, and if he can't vice signal about a particular issue, then he's basically fucked. He won't have a coherent fucking narrative. But yeah, generally speaking, like, we all know about Trump's sort of predisposition about the fucking Epstein files. He more than likely knows that his dumbass name is definitely in there. Whether he's implicated in any crimes or whatever, who the fuck knows? I don't know what's in the fucking Epstein files. The only release for the phase 1 stuff was that fucking full redaction bullshit. But then again, with the way that he was acting about the release of the fucking Epstein files ever since he decided, like, literally, bottom of the 9th inning, the shit was about to be released, and then he just said, no, I don't want to release the Epstein files, actually. It caused this whole fucking political shit show for him for no reason. Like, because... And that's going to make people, like, really, really fucking suspicious, right? Because they're going to be like, you guys were about to release it. Then you decided not to release it. Like, what the fuck is going on? Why would you do that? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, huh? Hello? It makes you look really, really fucking bad for no fucking reason. Just like, this Mark Caputo guy is saying, like, yeah, like, if you let James Comey do the Russia investigation normally, that probably wouldn't have been a problem. Calling the affordability crisis a fucking con job on a Fox News interview, I believe that was with Laura Ingraham, a very psychotic fucking interview. We've gone through some highlights of that one already, where it's just like, yeah, the affordability crisis, that's all a con by the Democrats. Actually, America's hella affordable. And then he talks positively about affordability, and the only reason why he's even mentioning affordability is because of how badly the Republican Party got trounced on those fucking Tuesday special elections. On those fucking elections. Just how terribly, total MAGA defeat sort of happened there. So it's just like, the only reason why they're bringing it up to try to, like, take that issue away from the Democratic Party, which they're not really going to be successful on because the Republican Party doesn't care about affordability. They don't care if poor people suffer and die. They prefer poor people suffering and dying if it means that the rich can afford, like, another fucking yacht in the Hamptons or whatever the fuck in order to just get significantly richer. They don't care if poor people fucking die and suffer. Doesn't matter. This is a party that cares about one thing and one thing only, and that's serving the will of the corporations and the rich. Like, duh, obviously. So... them talking about affordability, it's a canard. They don't actually give a shit about this. Like, meh, whatever. It's like, affordability? What's affordability? I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. When, like, all the tariffs and everything that's been going on has been making it significantly worse. People can't fucking buy shit.
Criticisms and issues that reflect badly on him or that his critics say reflect badly on him. And he doesn't always react in a way that helps him. Sometimes he doubles down or he gets so heavy-handed that it winds up making the story bigger and making the story more negative for him. And I think that's what you're seeing here. Had he gone along with this campaign trail promise and released the Epstein files or come up with a process to release them slowly in some sort of deliberative process, we probably wouldn't be talking about this right now. But that's not the situation that Donald Trump finds himself in, because this is sort of a debacle of his own making.
As I said, every story is not a process.
Very, very common. I'm more curious to see, what did Fox News say about this? Obviously, we all know about Fox News. They are sycophants to the fucking president. What do they have to say?
So in the meantime, you've got this. President Trump, after going on offense over the weekend, now switching course, doing a 180, now calling on House Republicans to vote for the release of the Epstein files. More on that in a moment, but first, David Spunk with the latest on the new details in the investigation. David, hello, good morning.
Hi, Bill. Good morning to you. There is an active probe taking place out of the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan, where federal prosecutors there are looking at the Epstein files and ties, but not to President Trump, instead to former President Bill Clinton, former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, and others. Now, the Justice Department under Attorney General Pam Bondi is now...
So yeah, the standard thing for the Republicans, they'll do anything possible to only hyper-specifically fixate on the Democrats and only talk about the implications only for the Democratic Party, which is very silly, to be quite honest, because it's just like, dog, like, who the fuck cares about the Democrats that are in there? First off, nobody fucking likes most of the Democrats that are probably in there. Nobody likes Bill Clinton, Reid Hoffman, or fucking Larry Summers. No one gives a shit about them in the Democratic base. Most of the people in reaction to this is like, good. Yeah, we would like to know about what they did potentially with Epstein. What is in those fucking files on them specifically, because nobody fucking likes those guys. So it's like, whatever. And again, people are just using this as like a political wedge against Trump specifically because of the fact that he just seemed so, well, he was adamant about releasing them, and then he became incredibly adverse all of a sudden. It's just like, well, that's a little suspicious. That's a little weird. Like him shooting himself in the foot for like no reason. It's just like, okay, that's a little strange. Like, why would you do that? Why would you advocate for their release? And because, again, for Trump and the Republicans, I've talked about this before, but all he cares about is just using anything to just beat Democrats over the head with. They don't care about anything like affirmatively, although they'll like pretend and actually say that they have like an affirmative goal or whatever and actually believe in stuff when it's a lie, obviously. Look at what's currently going on right now with all of Trump's fucking policies. It's mostly been terrible and highly fucking unpopular. And as a result, like, he wanted to use this purely for the political benefit to beat Democrats over the head with, but not face any potential consequences for it. Which is why he's like, shit, maybe actually wasn't a good idea for me to release these Epstein files. Might have been a little too hot. And they can't vice signal in the way that he can because it's a relatively easy fucking simple problem for everyone to understand. It's a very, very politically simple sort of position for people to understand. And as a result, he can't do his like same spin and song and dance and vice signaling that he normally would do in order to deflect away from the fucking Epstein files. It's a complete fucking disaster of his own making.
Now, back in the business of looking into the Epstein file story, I say back in the business because just in July, this DOJ couldn't get away from the story fast enough, putting out a memo on July 6th reading, quote, "To that end, while we have labored to provide the public with maximum information regarding Epstein and ensure examination of any evidence in the government's possession, it is the determination of the Justice Department and of the FBI that no further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted." Well, that's until President Trump asked Attorney General Pam Bondi
All the stuff they released, by the way, was stuff that was already known, basically.
to investigate Summers and Clinton's alleged ties to Epstein. That's when many of the president's supporters, though, back in July, became enraged, fully believing there was more to the story, laying blame directly on FBI Director Patel and Attorney General Bondi. Former President Clinton's Deputy Chief of Staff posting over the weekend, "These emails prove Bill Clinton did nothing and knew nothing. The rest is noise meant to distract from election losses, backfiring shutdowns, and who knows what else." Now, critics say the DOJ, the same DOJ that accused the Biden administration of weaponizing, is just as weaponized under President Trump, prosecuting the president's perceived enemies. Former FBI Director James Comey, New York AG Letitia James, and former National Security Advisor John Bolton, to name a few, are facing federal charges. The president has also called for an investigation into California Democratic Senator Adam Schiff, and we reported late last week that the president's housing director, Bill Pulte, referred Democrat Congressman Eric Swalwell.
Oh yeah, by the way, like, yeah, real quick, as a part of like the political revenge tour that Trump is doing, the investigation into James Comey, the prosecution on that was like so fucking ridiculously bad that I think Lindsey Halligan made the argument that if James Comey pleads the fucking fifth, that means he's inherently fucking guilty. Genuinely fucking insane fucking argument to make from a prosecutor. It makes sense why it's like such a terrible argument, considering the fact that she has zero experience in prosecutions and she's just a sycophant to Donald Trump. Like, and that shit got basically dropped. Like, you go up to a grand jury, you make the argument that if the defendant is just making an argument saying to plead the fifth on a particular thing, therefore that they must be fucking inherently guilty. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, that's fucking stupid. Like, and they just threw that case out immediately, which means I anticipate similar stuff, this like investigation they're trying to do on Letitia James and also like Adam Schiff. Lindsey Halligan, if she's the one who's appointed to do these fucking cases, she's probably going to make the exact same argument and make herself look like a complete fucking dumbass immediately. So it's just like, okay, bro, nice meme.
To the Justice Department over allegations of potential mortgage fraud. Bill.
Okay, a lot to keep track of, and you will. Thank you, David, for that. David Splint, Washington. Dana?
And we're on this with Fox News contributor Hugh Hewitt. Let me just read to you from Trump's Truth Social post on Epstein. House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files because we have nothing to hide, and it's time to move on from this Democrat hoax perpetrated by radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party. I think this falls into the category of what I used to call you need to be for what's going to happen. This vote was going to happen, and it looked like he was going to lose 40 Republicans, so now he's for it.
It is better, good morning, Dan. It is better to be playing offense than defense. It is better to declare, finally, I don't care, put everything out that you can put out. Now, you can't put out grand jury material. There are reasons for that. But the president is showing he's not afraid of it. And given everything that was leaked over the last 2 weeks and nothing laid a glove on him, I think he's doing the right thing by saying, be in favor of what's going to happen, as you noted, and just say, I don't care. So I think the president made a good choice here.
Getting this out then.
Cool.
If the House goes forward, at what point would the American public be able to see all these emails?
I think the moment that the House spreads them around the House, they'll begin to leak. And when they begin to leak, we'll begin to see more emails with a lot of people who will suffer unfair association with Jeffrey Epstein because they didn't know that he was a pedophile and a creep and a criminal, and they had an email exchange with him. That's very unfortunate. It makes a lot of people look guilty. But I think it'll be
I think a lot of people knew in the circles that Jeffrey Epstein was in that he was a pedophile, creep, and a fucking criminal. I don't think so. We've known that for a long time at this point, so, and people still were okay with associating with him after what Jim Acosta basically gave him that sweetheart deal back in 2007. It's like, yeah, totally, bro. Do these geezers really think that Trump is getting away with this one? Honestly, like, it is Fox News. They're gonna say literally anything possible to try to spin a fucking story. There's like, I don't think he's getting away with this one. There's no fucking way, dude.
almost instantaneous upon the release of the file that people who are not supposed to leak things will leak whatever they think might hurt or help their friends or foes, respectively.
Yeah, I wonder if there'll be redactions. Remember what the president said a while ago? He said there are a lot of innocent people going to be caught up in this.
Yeah.
Despite
Well,
implications,
that's why grand
they're
jury.
guilty.
Yeah, grand jury stuff is never let go. In fact, full field background investigations that the FBI does before they are sent up to the Senate for confirmation, you never turn those loose because people say crazy stuff all the time. They have vendettas, they make stuff up, and we're going to get a lot of that, and a lot of people are going to get dirty as a response. But as a result, the president said, I've had it, I've got nothing to do with this guy, let the chips fall.
Okay, on another topic, Hugh, since the 2025 election just a couple of weeks ago, a lot of things are now in motion for 2026 and 2028 even. And James Carville was basically saying that the Democrats, should they win in 2026, they should pack the court. Watch here.
This is the lowest the Supreme Court has been rated, and if you believe it's
Okay, I don't think I care as much about fucking James Carville. Fuck out of here. Yeah, like, the spin from Fox News, pretty fucking weak, I'll be honest. Not a lot of there to really talk about. It's just like, yeah, dude, it's a good thing that Trump's actually doing this now when they had to just try to do everything possible to fucking protect him back in the day. It's just like nonsense. It's very, very fucking stupid. But yeah, I think the only reason why Trump is going ahead with this stuff is because he sees the writing on the wall and how low his approval rating is, and on, like, with every fucking demographic. Independents, Democrats, obviously with Democrats, and also with his fucking base. 45% approval rating. 45% is not good, so he's deciding to capitulate and basically give up the fucking fight, which, again, he's the one who brought it up initially. So it's just like, if you didn't want this to happen, then you shouldn't have brought it up ever. But then again, Trump's an idiot, and he actually listens to his base to a fault at certain points. And he said he wanted to release the fucking Epstein files. Immediately start trying to back off of it. Just as it was about to release, he just completely backs off, and that makes him look really suspicious and really bad. Even the fucking Republicans. But yeah, I don't think there's really much else to say besides it's a complete L for Trump on this one for no reason, and he's basically just like, fuck, yeah, I totally lost on this one, so therefore I have to, well, give up on this fight, I think. I think that's really all there is to say about that.